In a world obsessed with noise and attention, there are few who choose silence, who walk alone, not because they're lost, but because they've found something deeper. This is the story of the lone wolf. A lone wolf doesn't seek the spotlight, applause, or the comfort of the crowd. He seeks solitude not because he fears people, but because he understands that real growth, deep, powerful, and lasting growth, only happens in silence. Where others are desperate to be seen, he chooses to see clearly. Where others crave validation, he validates himself. This isn't about being antisocial or broken. It's about becoming something few have the courage to be: independent, focused, and self-possessed. The lone wolf is often misunderstood. Society labels him as cold, distant, or arrogant. But in truth, the lone wolf isn't avoiding connection. He's filtering it. He understands that not all company is good company. He doesn't build walls to keep people out. He builds gates and guards to protect what he's building within. The world praises extroversion, noise, and oversharing, but the lone wolf values privacy, depth, and observation. He watches before he acts. He listens more than he speaks. His silence isn't empty, it's calculated. And every moment spent alone is a moment sharpening the mind, the will, and the soul. When you walk alone, you start to see the world differently. You begin to pick up on things most people miss. You notice insincerity in a handshake, desperation behind a smile, or insecurity behind arrogance. You become an observer, quiet, precise, and aware. That awareness becomes a kind of power. You're no longer led by emotion or groupthink. You move with intention. You become immune to trends, unaffected by peer pressure, and untouchable by the shallow praise that feeds most egos. You see things for what they are, and more importantly, you see yourself for who you truly are. The path of the lone wolf isn't easy. It's filled with moments where you question your direction, where the silence feels heavy, and where the world tries to convince you to conform. But in those lonely hours, something incredible happens. You build discipline, you build grit. You stop needing others to push you because you start pushing yourself. While others are celebrating weekend distractions, you're working. While they're scrolling, you're studying. While they're sleeping in, you're rising early to chase your mission. That's the difference. That's what separates the lone wolf from the herd. In isolation, the lone wolf finds not weakness but strength. Solitude is his sanctuary. It's where he recalibrates, where he dreams without interruption, where he crafts a vision no one else can see yet. He trains when no one's watching. He reads, learns, reflects, and rebuilds himself. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every hardship becomes fuel. And slowly, without noise or applause, he becomes something unshakable. He doesn't post about the grind. He lives it, not for show, but for growth. Because he knows real confidence doesn't need to be broadcast. It's worn like armor in how you carry yourself. Every lone wolf has a code. It's not about rules forced upon him by others, but values he's forged through experience. He keeps his word, especially to himself. He honors time. He doesn't chase validation or get lost in drama. He minds his business and handles his own problems. While others bend under pressure, he becomes more focused. He doesn't crumble when he's doubted. In fact, doubt only sharpens his edge. He remembers every time someone underestimated him, not to prove them wrong, but to prove himself right. His loyalty is rare but unwavering. If he gives it, it's earned. If he withdraws, it's for good reason. But make no mistake, the lone wolf didn't wake up this way. He wasn't born fearless, disciplined, or detached. He became this way through experience, through betrayal, through nights where he had no one to rely on but himself, through days where everything went wrong and quitting would have been easier. But he didn't quit. He got up, again and again. And every time he rose, he grew more powerful, more resilient, and more certain of the fact that he doesn't need to be surrounded to be strong. He just needs purpose. And once he has that, there's no stopping him. Becoming a lone wolf doesn't happen overnight. It starts with small shifts. You begin to distance yourself from gossip, distraction, and drama. You choose peace over popularity. You realize you don't need 100 friends, you need one mission. And that mission becomes your guiding light. Every decision, every sacrifice, every lonely hour feeds that mission. People might not understand it. They might mock it, but that's okay, because your vision isn't theirs to understand. It's yours to chase, yours to build, and yours to protect. The world will always try to pull you back into comfort, back into the herd. It will tempt you with easy pleasures, cheap recognition, and shallow praise. But the lone wolf knows the cost of comfort. He knows that mediocrity hides in the safety of crowds. So he keeps walking, head high, eyes forward, mission intact. Not because he wants to be different, but because he's already different. Not because he despises others, but because he loves his vision too much to compromise it. This is the path of the lone wolf. It's not for everyone. It's for those who are tired of waiting for others to believe in them. It's for those who would rather build in silence than beg for attention. It's for those who understand that solitude is not empty. It's full of answers. If that's you, then welcome. This is your time. Embrace the silence. Let it strengthen you. Let it shape you. Because the greatest transformations don't happen in crowds. They happen in solitude. And the lone wolf knows that well. The lone wolf walks alone, but he walks with direction. While the world chases trends, clout, and empty validation, he invests his energy in something greater, his transformation. Solitude isn't just where the lone wolf hides. It's where he sharpens his edge. Where others scroll, he studies. Where others relax, he refines. Every quiet hour is a step forward. Every sacrifice is a seed planted in silence. And while no one sees the process, they all notice the results, eventually. Because the rise of the lone wolf is slow, but it's unstoppable. What makes the lone wolf rise is that he doesn't seek a crowd to confirm his worth. He creates his own path through action, consistency, and inner standards. The rise is internal before it's external. His confidence is built in the dark without applause. He trains, he reads, he writes, he works, all without expecting a pat on the back. Because he knows that real growth is personal. No camera, no likes, no recognition. Just pure commitment to becoming stronger than he was yesterday. He builds not to impress, but to express his deepest potential. The lone wolf understands the power of momentum. Small efforts repeated daily transform into massive changes over time. 1 hour of study becomes expertise. One workout becomes a discipline. One difficult choice becomes a standard. And once the habit is locked in, the rise is inevitable. The lone wolf doesn't need hype or motivation. He builds systems. He doesn't wait to feel ready. He acts ready or not. And this consistency becomes his weapon. While others start and stop, he keeps moving. Not fast, not loud, but steady, quietly dominating his own lane. There's a certain power that comes when you stop needing attention, when you stop performing and start building. That's when people start to notice. They sense something different, not arrogance but certainty, not volume but presence. The lone wolf's presence doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from mastering his energy. He's calm in chaos. He's clear when others are confused. Because he's been through the inner war and won. He doesn't need to prove anything. He's walked through fire and built peace on the other side. As he rises, the lone wolf doesn't isolate out of hate. He isolates to elevate. His solitude becomes a platform, not a prison. He's not running from the world. He's preparing to re-enter it on his own terms. He builds skills, strength, clarity. And when he steps back in, he does so with power. Not to compete, but to contribute. He brings value. His words carry weight because they come from experience. His eyes speak volumes because he's seen both the darkness and the light within himself. But the rise isn't just about skills or results. It's about mindset. The lone wolf learns to love discomfort. He chooses the hard path because he knows that's where growth lives. He doesn't fear failure. He respects it. He knows every setback is a test of how bad he wants it. And he shows up anyway. He faces rejection, doubt, exhaustion, and still keeps going. Because his mission matters more than his mood. His purpose is stronger than his pain. That's the mentality that builds unbreakable men. And this rise doesn't go unnoticed. At first, people don't understand. They say, he's changed. And they're right. He has changed. Because he had to. He outgrew excuses, drama, and shallow circles. He outgrew needing approval. And as he rose, the gap between him and the average widened. Some tried to pull him back. Others tried to imitate. But he kept walking. Because this path isn't about ego. It's about evolution. The lone wolf knows that everyone has potential, but few are willing to pay the price for it. He is. One of the greatest signs of the lone wolf's rise is his clarity. He knows what he stands for, and he knows what he won't tolerate. He says no often, not out of arrogance but alignment. He protects his time, his focus, and his peace. His energy isn't given away cheaply anymore, because he's learned that everything costs something: attention, relationships, even thoughts. And now he spends with intention. That's why he moves differently. He doesn't chase, he attracts. He doesn't beg, he builds. And when he speaks, people listen, because there's weight behind his words. As he continues to rise, the lone wolf becomes a leader, not by position but by presence. People start to follow not because he asks them to, but because they trust him. They feel the strength behind his silence. They feel the integrity in his decisions. The lone wolf leads by example. He doesn't lecture, he embodies. He doesn't ask others to do what he won't. He sets the bar not just for others but for himself. And in doing so, he becomes more than a man. He becomes a symbol. A reminder of what's possible when you choose purpose over popularity. And perhaps the most beautiful part of the lone wolf's rise is that he never forgets where he came from. He remembers the silence, the nights of doubt, the early mornings, the inner battles. He doesn't resent the struggle, he respects it, because he knows that's what built him. The pain didn't break him, it prepared him. And now, as he walks with quiet strength, he honors the process. He honors the version of himself who kept going when no one clapped, when no one believed, when it would have been easier to quit. The lone wolf doesn't rise to be better than others. He rises to be better than he was. And in doing so, he gives others permission to do the same. Not through loud advice, but silent example. His journey becomes a mirror, challenging others to look within, to ask harder questions, to make bolder moves. His solitude becomes a gift, not just for himself, but for anyone watching. Because it proves something most people forget, you don't need a crowd to rise, you just need courage. And the discipline to keep moving forward, one step at a time. This is the rise of the lone wolf. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it's real, it's powerful, and it's unshakable, because it's built on something the world can't give, and therefore can't take away. Inner strength, clear purpose, ruthless self-respect. That's the foundation, that's the fire. And as the lone wolf keeps rising, he doesn't just change his own life, he changes the lives of others, quietly, relentlessly, completely. There comes a time in every lone wolf's journey when his solitude begins to echo beyond himself. His actions ripple outwards not because he demands attention, but because what he has become cannot be ignored. The world that once misunderstood his silence begins to pay attention, not because he speaks louder, but because his presence speaks for itself. This is the legacy of the lone wolf, not to dominate others, but to inspire through discipline, resilience, and quiet strength. The lone wolf never set out to lead, yet people begin to follow. They're drawn to his certainty, his clarity, and the peace he carries in his eyes. In a world full of noise and confusion, he becomes a lighthouse. His stillness becomes a rare currency. He doesn't chase popularity, but he earns respect, real respect, the kind that comes from watching someone stay true to their path no matter the cost. That's influence, not built on volume or vanity, but on character. Because in the end, people don't remember those who shouted the loudest. They remember those who stood the strongest. As he matures, the lone wolf evolves from isolation to intention. He no longer hides in solitude, he chooses it. He's not bitter, he's selective. He starts to build a circle, not of many, but of a few who understand the path. People of depth, of truth, of discipline. He attracts not fans but allies, not followers but kindred spirits. And while he may still walk alone, he's no longer lonely, he's simply aligned. And from that alignment, something powerful is born, legacy. The legacy of the lone wolf isn't measured in likes, wealth, or fame. It's measured in impact. The young man who watches him and decides to stop making excuses. The tired father who sees his discipline and chooses to get back up. The lost soul who listens to his words and finds clarity. That's the power of one man living with integrity. The lone wolf may not see the waves he creates, but they exist. Because when one person rises, they give others permission to rise too. This is what the lone wolf understands. Leadership isn't a title, it's a responsibility. It's waking up every day and choosing to be better. It's knowing your choices echo beyond you. That every time you choose discipline over distraction, someone sees it. Every time you stand firm when others fold, someone remembers it. And every time you walk away from drama, comfort, or easy shortcuts, someone is inspired to do the same. You don't need a podium to preach. Your life is the sermon. Your actions are the message. And with time, the lone wolf becomes a quiet mentor, not through forced advice, but through example. People begin to ask how he stays focused, how he remains calm, how he keeps growing. And his answer is simple. He chose the hard path early, so he wouldn't live with regret later. He chose isolation when others chose distraction. He embraced pain, knowing it would shape his strength. And now that strength speaks louder than any words could. But here's the thing about the lone wolf. He never forgets the pain that shaped him, the cold nights, the silent failures, the empty victories. That memory keeps him humble, keeps him real. He doesn't walk around pretending to have all the answers. He just walks with clarity, with discipline, and with unwavering respect for the journey. And that humility makes his legacy timeless. Because he never rises above others, he rises within himself. And from that place, he becomes something rare, a leader who doesn't need followers, a teacher who never stops learning, a warrior who doesn't fight for attention but for truth. The lone wolf doesn't need to leave monuments behind. His monument is the life he lived. His legacy is etched into the habits he built, the battles he fought, and the lives he touched, often without even knowing it. He knows that one disciplined life is more powerful than 1,000 empty words. He doesn't chase legacy, but legacy finds him, because real greatness isn't declared. It's built brick by brick, in silence, over years of unseen effort. Eventually, others begin to tell his story, not as a myth, but as a mirror showing what's possible when a man refuses to be average, when a man chooses principle over popularity, when a man decides to walk alone until he becomes the kind of person others can lean on. That's not just powerful, it's eternal. The lone wolf becomes not a legend in the history books, but in the hearts of those who watched from a distance and were changed. And one day, when a younger man finds himself lost, uncertain, drowning in distractions, he'll remember the lone wolf. He'll remember the image of someone who chose discipline when the world chose comfort, someone who embraced loneliness until it became strength. And in that moment, he'll make a decision to rise. That's legacy, not in what you take, but in what you leave behind, not in who remembers your name, but in who remembers your example. So if you're walking the lone path now, keep walking. You may not see the impact yet, you may not hear the applause, but someone is watching, someone is listening, and most importantly, you are becoming. Every day you stay true, every moment you keep walking forward, you write a story that will outlive you, a story of grit, of growth, of glory without greed. That's a legacy worth fighting for. The lone wolf doesn't need the crowd. He doesn't fear being misunderstood. He knows his strength, he knows his purpose, and now he understands his place in the world, not above others but beside those on the same path. He walks not in pride but in peace, not with noise but with quiet fire. And wherever he goes, the silence follows, not as emptiness but as presence, unshakable, undeniable, unforgettable. This is the legacy of the lone wolf.